But every time I come back home after my dad's assignment back here to the US, I would either be in all Black schools or Black and white schools, meaning the still segregated or the newly integrated. And see, just because desegregation was passed by the Supreme Court in 1954, 4 years before I was born, it didn't mean that integration happened overnight. It took years and years, right? On into the 60s, in some cases, even the 70s before some schools got integrated. So one time, when I came back, I couldn't understand this separation stuff. But one time when I came back, I was age 10 and I was in the 4th grade, 1968. And I was back home here in the States. And I was one of 2 Black kids in the entire school. Myself in 4th grade, a little Black girl in 2nd grade. So consequently, all of my friends were 4th and 5th graders, the older people.
Sure.
And they all were white. Many of my male friends were members of the Cub Scouts, and they invited me to join. So I joined. And we had a good time, no problems. And then one day we had a parade. And I was the only Black participant in this parade. The streets were blocked off. Sidewalks were lined with nothing but white people. And they were waving and cheering, having a good time, until we got to one point in this parade when suddenly I was getting hit with bottles and soda pop cans and debris from the street. But
unbelievable.
I didn't know what was happening. I didn't believe it either. But, it's just a small group of people mixed in with a larger crowd.
Sure.
4 or 5 people. I remember there being 2 kids, maybe a year or 2 older than me, and a couple of adults who were throwing things. It wasn't everybody. And I figured, these are these kids and their parents. But the thing of it was I thought when this happened to me, I thought these people over here on the sidewalk, they didn't like the Scouts. That's how naive I was, right?
Oh, sure.
I was the only Scout getting hit, man, until my den mother, my Cub master, my troop leader all came running over and covered me with their bodies. And these are white people too, and escorted me out of the danger. And I kept saying, what did I do? I didn't do anything to them. Why are they doing this? And all they would do is kind of shush me and rush me along, telling me to keep moving, everything would be okay. So they never answered me as to why this was happening. And I saw that none of my other Scouts were getting this special protection. So now I'm trying to figure out, what did I do? I didn't do anything. I'm just marching with my Scouts. It never occurred to me why this happened, because I'd never had.
And why would it? Why would it? I mean,
exactly, because I've been around people from all over the world, and this never happened, right? So when I got home at the end of the day, my mother and father, who were not present at the parade, were cleaning me up and putting Band-Aids on me and asking me, how did you fall down and get all scraped up? And I explained to them, no, I didn't trip and fall down. I told them what had happened. And for the first time in my life, Wilk, my mom and dad sat me down and explained to me what racism was. Believe it or not, at the age of 10, I had never even heard the word racism.
Nice.
Because it didn't exist in my world, So there's no reason for me to know about it. And when they told me this, I didn't believe them, because my 10-year-old brain could not process the idea that somebody who didn't know me would want to hurt me just because of the color of my skin. It made no sense to me. And furthermore, to even enforce my belief that this was a lie that my parents were telling me, was the fact that the people over here on the sidewalk doing this to me did not look any different than my friends that I was marching with, or my foreign friends, my little friends overseas from France or from Sweden or Denmark or wherever. They looked the same, and they didn't do this to me, so it had nothing to do with skin color. My parents were making this up, so I didn't believe them. Well, within 2 months of that incident, 1968, on April the 4th, Martin Luther King was assassinated, and I remember it very clearly. Every major city in this country, where I am right now, right near Washington, D.C., where I was at the time, Boston, Massachusetts, where I'm from originally, Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, they all burned to the ground in the name of this new word I had learned a couple months back called racism. And,
you've got a crash course.
Yeah, exactly, man, firsthand. And at that point, I realized my parents had told me the truth. This strange phenomenon thing called racism does exist. But what I didn't know was why. Why does it exist? Why do people hate one another? I couldn't understand that. So I formed a question in my mind at that age, at age 10, which was, how can you hate me when you don't even know me? And so now for almost the next 54 years, I've been looking for the answer to that question.